Hi, I'm Jackie Wells, physiotherapist and Pilates instructor. I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about Achilles tendinitis. This is a very common problem, and especially with now everyone allowed out between 6 and 9 exercising after not doing a huge amount of running for 5 weeks, it's probably quite a common problem. So an Achilles tendinitis is basically an overload or overuse of the Achilles tendon, which attaches the calf muscle to the heel. And when you've done too much, too fast, too soon, increased your distance too much, run too long, or if it's a biomechanics problem, which is another very possible answer, is shoes or the way your foot sits, if your foot rolls in a little bit, if your shoe isn't mobile enough. So there's a lot of causes of Achilles tendinitis. Once you've got it, it is something that takes a lot of time to get better. Tendons heal very slowly. They've got a very poor blood supply of their own, so they actually heal very slowly. But there are things that you can do to help with the healing process. So firstly is resting from the aggravating factors. So if you're a runner and you've got an Achilles problem, you do need to rest. You can cycle, you can swim, you can do anything that's non-weight bearing, but as soon as you've got that loading, it's going to go through the tendon and irritate it and get inflamed. One of the biggest indicators of an Achilles tendinitis is when you get up in the morning, that stiffness when you first put your foot down, which can sometimes last for 2 minutes, sometimes it can last for 10 to 15 minutes. So initially when you're walking, you feel like you can't actually put your heel down onto the floor because it's quite stiff and tight. That, for me as a physio, is the marker of how bad your Achilles tendinitis is, and also if it's getting better. So if you started and it was sore for 15 minutes to start with, and now it's only stiff for the first 2 or 3 steps, it's definitely improving, but it's still there. And until such time as you're not stiff in the mornings, I would advise you not to run. In your shoes, so in your trainers when you're doing gym, in your work shoes, walking around, you can also buy little heel lifts, which are in the shape of a heel, and you put there about a centimeter thick, and you put that in your shoe for your heel to sit on, and that just helps take a little bit of the tension off the Achilles. I would put it in both shoes because you don't want to imbalance yourself, and wear that while you're struggling with your Achilles. So when you're doing gym, when you're walking around, when you're working, obviously when you're at home, take your shoes off. It's very good to be barefoot so you can actually get the muscles of the foot working, but in your shoes, wear these heel lifts. Transact patch is also very good on the Achilles for inflammation. Transact patches work amazingly, but especially with very superficial things. They don't work for very deep, like your disc. They're not going to work for that. But for something like the Achilles, where it's quite superficial, and especially when the Achilles, as it attaches right onto the base of the heel, that area, it responds very, very nicely. If you take anti-inflammatories, you can also do that. It depends on your system and whether you like taking tablets or not. Traumeel is an option for a homeopathic anti-inflammatory. And then once you start where you're not that acutely inflamed, you do need to also strengthen the Achilles and strengthen the tendon to try and get it used to loading. So I'm going to show you a few exercises and stretches that you can do. As an exercise for any tendon, you need to do eccentric loading. So for an exercise, I would go up in 1 count and come slowly down in the count of 4. And then power up in 1 and again slowly down in 4. You can do this on both legs to start with. Once it's feeling easier, then you just do it on the one leg. Up in 1, heel all the way up and slowly down. If you're able to do it on the edge of the step, you can also build that in. So stepping on a little step, you can drop your heel right down and rising up. And down in 4 counts, and up. A stretch for the Achilles, not so much the calf, but for the Achilles, is taking your foot behind you as if you're going to do a normal calf stretch like that. You bring your back foot in slightly, and you bend that back knee. And now you feel the stretch quite a lot lower into the Achilles, and you're holding that. What you can also do is turn your heel out and in, and find exactly where you need the stretch, and you hold that, and you keep pushing it down, so you get a nice stretch in that back Achilles. in the very beginning phases and it's an incredibly sore and hot and swollen, then you also need to ice it. So I would use the ice, Transact, and some anti-inflammatories, a little heel lift in the back of your shoe, and try and avoid walking any exercise that requires impact for the time that you are struggling. As it becomes an old chronic injury, you actually need heat to try and flush out that old inflammation, get the blood flowing, and try and get rid of that inflammation. So what I would suggest is, on days where it's just the normal, stuck, tight Achilles, use the heat. If you have done some exercise and it's a bit more inflamed than normal, then you can ice it for that time, and then the next day go back to the heat. Or you can use heat and ice, 10 minutes, to try and really boost the anti-inflammatory benefits of it, get the blood flowing, and try and release that Achilles. While you are sore and stiff, I would advise no running. This is tough for everyone, and I understand if you're a runner, it feels like a death sentence, but you can swim and you can cycle. When you're swimming, I wouldn't push off the wall too hard, because obviously that does work the calf as well, but you can keep moving while doing it. Things like yoga, Pilates, strengthening exercise is also very, very important. And the rule of thumb is, if something is sore, stop. I know it sounds obvious, but most of us as runners, cyclists, people who train, athletes, we don't really listen to that all the time. So if it's sore, stop. And expect a good 2-3 months recovery period.